Imagine you are walking through the lobby of the Bellagio in Las Vegas on a quiet Tuesday in September 2023. The air is filled with the familiar, hypnotic hum of slot machines, the ambient chatter of tourists, and the rhythmic clicking of hotel room keycards hitting locks. It is the heartbeat of the Strip, a massive, clockwork operation that never sleeps. And then, quite suddenly, the clock stops. In a matter of hours, the digital architecture holding together one of the largest hospitality and entertainment empires on the planet, MGM Resorts, simply vanished. The slot machines went dark, the digital keys refused to turn, and the reservation systems that manage thousands of rooms dissolved into screens showing nothing but error messages. It wasn't a power grid failure, and it wasn't a natural disaster. It was a single phone call. To understand how MGM Resorts, a multi-billion-dollar giant, lost control of its empire overnight, we have to look past the firewalls, the encrypted servers, and the sophisticated cyber defense protocols. We have to look at the human element. For years, cybersecurity experts have warned that the weakest link in any digital chain isn't the software, but the person sitting at the terminal. In the case of MGM, that warning became a grim reality in the most spectacular fashion possible. The narrative of this hack begins long before the systems went dark. It starts with a group known as Scattered Spider. Unlike the state-sponsored cyber warfare units that dominate headlines, Scattered Spider was a loose-knit collective of young, often English-speaking hackers who prioritized social engineering over complex coding. They didn't need to break down the front door, they just needed to trick someone into opening it. Their methodology was chillingly simple. They didn't hunt for a software vulnerability like a zero-day exploit, they hunted for a human. They scoured LinkedIn, looking for IT help desk employees, service desk staff, and junior admins. They gathered names, job titles, and office locations. They built a profile of an employee, a real person who just wanted to do their job and get through their shift. On that fateful day, the attackers made a simple phone call to the MGM IT help desk. They impersonated an employee, claiming they had lost access to their account. They used the information they had painstakingly gathered from LinkedIn to verify their identity. It was a conversation. It was empathy. It was trust. The IT representative, following standard protocol but ultimately deceived, reset the credentials for the account. Just like that, the hackers were inside. They had moved from the outside world into the corporate network, all while the IT staff thought they were simply helping a colleague get back to work. Once they were inside, the movement was rapid. They escalated their privileges, moving laterally across the network like a ghost in the machine. They installed ransomware, a type of malicious software that encrypts data and holds it hostage. They weren't just looking to steal credit card numbers, they were looking to exert total dominance. By the time MGM's security team realized the breach, the damage was already done. The attackers had locked down the company's hypervisors, the virtual layers that run everything from slot machine servers to hotel check-in kiosks. MGM Resorts was faced with an impossible choice. They could either pay the ransom to the criminals, which would fuel further attacks and offer no guarantee of regaining full control, or they could shut down the entire network to contain the bleeding. They chose to shut it down. In an era where digital connectivity is life, this was essentially a self-inflicted lobotomy. The impact was immediate and visceral. Across Las Vegas, the world's entertainment capital, the scene was one of confusion and frustration. Guests were trapped in their rooms because their digital keys stopped working. Casino floors became ghost towns. The company was forced to revert to pen and paper, processing room assignments by hand and manually tracking thousands of guests. The sheer logistical nightmare of operating a 21st-century resort in a pre-digital fashion was staggering. The fallout was immense. MGM reported a loss of over $100 million in earnings. The stock price took a hit, and the reputational damage was immeasurable. But perhaps the most enduring legacy of the MGM hack is the wake-up call it delivered to the entire corporate world. It exposed a fundamental flaw in our security posture. We have spent billions on high-tech armor while leaving the human gatekeepers vulnerable to the oldest trick in the book, manipulation. The Scattered Spider hackers didn't need to be geniuses. They just needed to be patient. They understood that every system is ultimately operated by people who are tired, distracted, or simply trying to be helpful. The lesson here isn't that technology is bad, but that our reliance on it has created a massive, fragile dependency. When the screen goes black, the manual processes that once kept businesses running have long since atrophied. MGM wasn't just hacked by code, they were hacked by psychology. As we look at the aftermath, we have to ask ourselves, how do you secure a system against human nature? The answer isn't just better firewalls or advanced AI detection, though those are necessary. It requires a fundamental shift in corporate culture. It requires recognizing that the person who answers the phone is the front line of national and corporate security. It means training that emphasizes skepticism over blind helpfulness, and verification procedures that don't rely on information that can be easily found on a social media profile. The MGM Resorts hack stands as a milestone in the history of cybersecurity. It is the story of how a multi-billion-dollar empire was brought to its knees not by a sophisticated cyber weapon, but by a 10-minute conversation. It reminds us that in our increasingly digital lives, the most powerful tool for both security and destruction remains the same as it has always been: the ability to influence, persuade, and deceive. The neon lights of Las Vegas eventually turned back on, the slot machines resumed their chime, and the hotel keys started working again. But the vulnerability remains, lurking in every help desk, every email, and every conversation. The digital age is built on trust, and the MGM hack proved, perhaps more clearly than ever before, that trust is the most valuable currency, and the easiest one to steal. As we move forward, the challenge for companies isn't just about patching the software, it's about patching the human connection, creating a workforce that is aware, skeptical, and ready to question the next voice on the other end of the line. Because in the game of cybersecurity, the house doesn't always win. Sometimes, the house gets played.